Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, the Telltale Series. So, in checking out my footage before, it feels like the balance is a little bit off as far as the voice acting and at least the stream safe music. So I'm gonna turn down the music to about 8 from having the master volume at 10. Noticeably here though, not really an opportunity to turn up the voice acting if you wanted to do that, and you still have a very basic problem that most games have, in that all the volume is always at the maximum level to start with, when really it should be about 5 out of 10 or 50% of whatever scale you want to use. And then you could, in the menu, turn up the volumes as much as you could turn things down. Otherwise, what you would have to do is turn everything down and then try and, I don't know, adjust the audio outside of the app in the operating system settings, which is harder than it sounds. So in the the first episode, we beat Thanos, but as I was looking at the footage, I did notice that Thanos picked up the triangular artifact, hourglass looking artifact, and it seemed to activate. A big green orb of energy came about, so that does open up the possibility that this is all happening in some kind of, all the events of the story after that point are happening in kind of a dream or delusion. The beginning menu shows all the Guardians of the Galaxy seemingly fighting each other, and that's where I think we're going to go with this. But I do think time travel, or it was all a dream gimmicks, are going to be in play. And yeah, while they did get rid of Thanos, which will be good for this story until they bring Thanos back to life, which I assume is going to happen, then we're left with maybe Nebula being the new big bad. Noticeably, in the Marvel movies, even though once they got past Endgame and got rid of Thanos, they haven't done the greatest of jobs as far as introducing who the next big bad is, because they started too big. Thanos in the Marvel Universe is effectively one of the biggest bad guys there is, and if you get rid of him, they got rid of him in such a way in the movies that you really couldn't bring him back in any way. Whereas in comic books, you would defeat somebody and then they would just run away most of the time, and then they would come back later, with perhaps the exception of a few characters. That almost always happens. The Joker, for instance, has seemingly died multiple times in the DC universe, but he always comes back stronger or different. But yeah, chapter 3 of the first episode, Peter Quill was waking up drunk in the bar after celebrating defeating Thanos.
Body weight in that toxic liquid.
Hey, I was surrounded by adoring fans. I couldn't let them go thirsty.
Oh, I don't care who ordered all the drinks. We need to figure out how to pay our tab.
Pete's gonna love my solution.
He was drunk
you
in the
know
bar,
I always got genius ideas, right?
and now
you need a plan, you go to
he's
rock.
drunk in the
That's
ship.
the deal. I'm just making good on it.
Yeah, whatever it is, I'm sure it's brilliant.
Why, thank you.
I kind of get the
certainly
feeling
is.
like I want to make him the
We're gonna
goofiest
sell Thanos' body.
character possible. Like, answer with the most
That
ridiculous
is
response
not
possible.
a bad idea.
Selling a corpse? How could that be profitable?
There are people who would find it valuable.
Exactly.
There are
And I know
some
just the
blurriness
guy. The collector. He loves
intentionally.
buying exotic crap for his museum, so Thanos, the newly dead Titan, will be perfect. He'll pay you tons
they're
of units for
intentionally
that body. These are the kind of people you want to be
Making
rubbing elbows
Rocket
with, Pete.
blurry so you
Everything
can see
they got's
the
a
background.
superlative. The biggest this, the best that, the fastest the other thing. Real champions of
Let's just be
society
nice to
all
Rocket.
around.
Again,
I love
just
everything
stroking
about this.
egos.
And I love you for loving it.
course, what they
Or
don't know
we could turn
is
Thanos over
that
to the Nova Corps. They've had an
Collector
official bounty on his head for years. Plus, it comes with
basically
the added
worked
benefit of
for
not having to deal
Thanos.
with criminals, like the Collector. He's a corrupt thug, bottom line. But the Nova Corps, they maintain peace and order in the galaxy. They have thousands of ships and soldiers. This could get us on their good side.
Good thinking, Gamora.
Thank you,
just
Peter.
agree with
Guys.
everybody.
We just killed the biggest, baddest criminal in history. We shouldn't turn right around and become one ourselves. Working with the Nova Corps is the right thing to do. You're being a greedy little rodent right now.
Oh, as if you're so high and mighty, Green Lady.
So they're trying to
You
create
suddenly
conflict
forgot all the
here.
innocent people you murdered for that psycho?
I remember each and every one. Not that you'd understand.
And
You
obviously
do
here you're
whatever
gonna
the hell you
side with
want,
Gamora
whenever
over
you
Rocket.
want.
That is an
Even if he
accurate
is your
and
best
completely
friend, you're gonna always
acceptable
side with the
judgment.
girlfriend.
Oh, chill out, Gamora.
Whoops,
Rocket's
clicked the
only
wrong
trying to
button.
help.
Peter, the Nova Corps would make capable allies. Don't let this miscreant convince you otherwise.
So I
He's
potentially
smart.
just made
He
the
don't
wrong
need convincing.
this
It's Peter's call,
wrong
Rocket.
choice there.
Not yours.
And inherently, like even if we did make friends with the Nova Corp, we would just wreck it later anyways. So it seems to me like we may end up spending several scenes on the ship and they may just reuse this at least once per episode. But this is effectively a small area to walk around and to talk to people.
Peter Quill, legendary Star-Lord. So what's up, my main man?
How you holding up, buddy?
Yeah, my liver's trying to shake me from the inside out. I've never had so many free drinks in my life. Living in a post-Thanos world, on the other hand, maybe it won't be so bad. Some time off would be a welcome change.
You still messing with that thing?
So we have several choices without
dismantle it.
timers.
Gonna use the parts to fix the engine.
Really?
Yeah, well, I stole parts from the engine to make it, so I'm just putting them back. I said I'm putting them back!
So, you made up your mind. You're really leaving then?
I would have expected
Look,
the game
man,
to
2
jump
days
into
ago,
a
I
little
was
bit
getting
more
shot at.
action.
Last night, I was
And
getting shot.
then they
Know what I mean? We're famous. I gotta
they
take advantage.
gave us too much action with the
Step
fight
one,
with Thanos, and they
sell
had to have a bunch of
Thanos. Step
action
2,
to just make
fling
Thanos
money
feel
into air.
as strong as he should be. But
So, what's the deal with this collector guy?
now
Might come
I
as a
feel like we're gonna
surprise,
have a
but
lot
the
of falling
collector
action
collects stuff
because
for his
we
collection.
we
When
already
he's
had a
not
bunch of
running
quick
the
time
underworld,
events
that is.
fighting
He pays
Thanos.
tip-top dollar, which is way better than anything the Nova Corps can do for us.
Why do you hate the Nova Corps so much?
Those NC jerkwads locked me and Groot up at least a dozen times for bounty hunting, weapon stealing, you know, innocent stuff like that. Hey, come on, a guy's gotta make an honest living, am I right?
I should get back to it.
Oh, and don't be an idiot. Thanos is worth a fortune. Call the Collector.
See, it seems to me like regardless what you choose, you're gonna still end up in the exact same spot. We could go to the bridge. You can look at Thanos'
Who did?
body.
You did. And about to be someone else's problem.
There is this weirdness certainly around the Guardians of the Galaxy universe that, as it's portrayed, and the Marvel universe in general. It's not really a universe where it feels like there's a lot of law and order. It does feel very Wild West-like. So Nova Corps may pretend like they are the police of the areas they police, and they may technically be the police, but it doesn't. You don't run into any real law and order citizens. So selling a body to a collector doesn't seem that bad of an idea.
Well, that's not good.
Stereo system, I guess that means I could turn on some music.
Man, is everything on this ship broken?
Nope, can't at the moment, but almost certainly we're coming back to this region at some point. We should talk to Drax and talk to Groot if we can talk to Groot.
Doing all right after last night?
The rodent tried to deny me my victory. But you, my true and noble friend, Peter Quill, stood with me. I believe Hovat and Cameria can rest peacefully now.
You know, I've
Let's
never
just
asked.
ask all the questions.
Hovat and Cameria.
That's gonna make these
like?
scenes longer, but
My wife and daughter,
even if I make them as long as possible,
kind,
then
brave,
they still are gonna
true.
not be that long.
qualities I, myself, aspire to possess. Ask me no more of them, Peter. I do not always wish to remember their faces.
Yeah, I seriously doubt Drax's family would agree with his vengeance stance and want to see him spend his life trying to seek out vengeance.
I really need to figure out what to do with Thanos.
Nova Corps, Collector, thrown into a black hole? That is up to you. He is dead. That is all I care about.
So, eating your feelings, I see.
With Thanos defeated, there is a void inside of me that only these rations can fill.
All right, gotta run, Drax. Stay cool.
My body temperature is always 125.9 degrees.
Yeah, and those kinds of jokes just don't play particularly well when you're not delivering them well. You have to have a voice acting of confusion and better writing. This implies to me that
Hey, Mom.
in this story, he's already been to Earth and back to Earth multiple times, and he just checks in every now and then. Otherwise, where would they have gotten those cookies from?
Had this bag since I was a kid. Used to hold candy. Now it holds... Well, now it holds alien candy.
On some level, you would think Peter Quill would be the eternal man-child. He just never had to grow up because he's living in space with aliens that wouldn't realize how childish by comparison he is to other Earthlings.
No, you.
And so what you would want to do is have a story where he actually does have to grow up, and I think the Marvel movies did that fairly well.
Always knew I'd make headlines someday. Just didn't think it'd be for killing a giant purple tyrant.
Okay, so there's nothing in there to really interact with. So Groot maybe is just still in the bathroom. So yeah, it definitely seems like I could have just gone to the main engine and
That
decided
terminal took a beating in the crash.
whether
Still
I'm
offline.
selling it to the collector
Gotta use
or
the one on the
whether
bridge.
I'm selling it to the Nova Corps. But again, you always side with the girlfriend, and it would make a lot of sense to side with Gamora anyways, even if she
It's
wasn't
just you and me now,
a romantic
Nebula.
interest.
We should, I don't know, catch up.
About what, Gamora? How you killed our father?
He left us no
Stay
choice.
away from me.
Well, at least that tells you she's probably not coming to kill you. Really, you're gonna transfer from one chair to the other. Out of the captain's seat, I guess. But yeah, even if she wasn't the girlfriend, she's staying on the team where Rocket seemingly isn't, so side with the person who's most likely to stay around.
Hey, Peter.
How are you doing?
Fine.
Probably
Staying as far away from Rocket as I
better
can.
to just have jumped into this
I
conversation.
don't want to let him ruin my mood. Last night was actually fun. Maybe too much fun. So, something on your mind?
Did I hear you talking to Nebula earlier?
If by talking to you mean being yelled at. Even though she's pissed, it feels good to have it off my mind. Thanks for the advice.
Inherently, because
Hey, what a
because you have multiple
Stopping one
dialogue
another from
choices,
drinking too much.
you're
We both
you're
failed that
giving
mission.
only 1 out of 4 chances to get the best outcome in any dialogue, and even when there isn't a timer on it, like in this case, you're given 1 out of 4 chances to pick the conversation that would flow the easiest in a conversation. Whereas in any other game, you'd have a writer, and the writer would hopefully be good enough to say, hey, I want all of this dialogue to be heard by the player, and I want it to be heard in this order, and I want the character that I'm writing dialogue for, that's the protagonist, to say these things instead of creating 4 different choices. Yes, in other visual novels you do have choices in dialogue, but very often in visual novels, unless it is a kinetic visual novel where you actually don't have any choices or branching paths in your dialogue. But yeah, most time in visual novels you get 1 out of 3 or 4 choices of something you would say, and then the character will respond to that one statement and then just continue the conversation as if what you said didn't matter. Whereas Telltale games inherently try to sell themselves on the idea that what you're saying matters. And arguably in 2023, maybe people don't believe in the concept of what you say mattering as much as they did back in 2017. People can get away with saying a lot and be forgotten, being forgiven, and in most games, actions matter way more than words. Let's ask about the Nova Corps first, then we'll ask about Rocket.
Why do you like the Nova Corps so much?
I don't really like to talk about it, but I was an assassin for Thanos. I killed so many people for him that I lost count.
We're having to get a lot of
Tyrants.
backstory on these characters.
Innocence. Didn't matter. If you ever hear the ridiculous nickname, the most dangerous woman in the universe, that was me. But the Nova Corps, they turned a blind eye to my past after I joined the Guardians. Being with you guys, making the galaxy safer, it's my chance to make up for what I did.
So, you still mad at Rocket?
He needs to watch his little tongue. I may have been too harsh with him. He just... oh, he's so infuriating.
I guess I'll talk to you later.
It almost feels like the game here is to
Some
keep the
advice
Guardians
for you.
together.
Don't trust the Collector. You should call the Nova Corps.
Yep. And I guess if this wasn't a game that was just so tied to the systems that already have been developed for other games around Telltale games, that probably would be the way to tell this story, is to have a lot of game over scenarios where Rocket shoots Gamora, Gamora shoots Rocket for whatever kind of ridiculous reasons, and that you would potentially have only one path to a perfect ending. There is a visual novel series called 999 and then it has a couple sequels, and it's very long series, but effectively in that story there's a lot of different paths, and in several paths several different people end up killing different people, and you're looking for the perfect path where everybody survives. Particularly in 999 that's the case, is almost every character has a branching timeline where they end up being a killer. I could see doing something like that where each of these characters end up killing or breaking up the team. Alright, well, all we can really do is use the bridge console. We have information we just can't forget, though. Like, I know the Collector's evil. I really wouldn't even have to have seen any of the other Marvel movies to know the Collector is evil, because inherently, if you are the most notorious collector out there, you've got to be doing something illegal to collect things. Like, you just don't get to be the biggest collector through legal means. Regardless, even if I didn't know anything bad about the Collector, NovaCorp has a good reputation. Use the call menu to turn Thanos over to the Collector in the NovaCorp. Yep. Weirdly here, feels like this would have been something we probably should have had earlier. And this is also weirdly not something that you really have in any of the other Telltale games. So we just have Drax, and then I can use the right stick to scroll down. I guess pause now if you want to read all of this. There's an update here showing you what your interactions have led to as far as this. I thought Drax would be happier with Thanos dead, but something seems to really be bothering him. I hope he's okay. And the little yellow exclamation points will indicate new parts or new things. So the more we talk and the more we dig for details, the more we'd unlock of this stuff. You're not really getting a ton of information. You're getting a small paragraph. Planet of origin probably doesn't mean too much unless we get to a point where people go back in time and destroy certain planets. So we might want to memorize that, but it would make a lot more sense for them to have, say, height, weight, or species list. Apparently Groot is from planet X. Knowhere is the head of a decapitated celestial, so even one celestial potentially coming back would be stronger than a Titan, but it's not likely to happen. Yep. It's pretty obvious that Meredith Quill is probably dead. Nebula is from unknown planet of origin. This would be the information you really would be helpful now. NovaCorp Space Cops, they're responsible for keeping galactic peace, real lawful good types. I guess they're decent enough at their job, but sure come to the Guardians for help a lot. Rocket can't stand them, but Gamora actually has a lot of respect for what they do. Update, apparently the NovaCorps have tangled with Rocket more than a few times. Can't say that I'm surprised. Rocket is from Half-World, which I didn't think that was the case. I thought Rocket actually was a raccoon from Earth that had been experimented on, effectively tortured by some mad scientist. But apparently not, according to this. Pause now if you want to read that. Star-Lord is a name he gave himself, and this description looks like something he gave himself in the Codex. Thanos is from Titan, and apparently is a Titan. But he is also in the Codex, so he might show back up. The Collector is from an unknown planet. Knowhere is full of shady people, but none of them are shadier than this guy. He has a, quote, museum that buys and sells anything of value. No idea where he gets all his money, but he apparently got units like a beach has sands. Gamora doesn't trust him all, but Rocket is all about that bank account. And then the spaceship is the Milano. Of course, if you were to try and compare this game to like Mass Effect, it fails miserably on that comparison. And that is kind of doing the exact same thing, particularly if you think about just like Mass Effect 1. Like, what is that game? It's half talking to people and having conversations like a Telltale game, but then the other half that really makes Mass Effect work is that you're running and gunning and fighting enemies, and you have that grind to make a game like Mass Effect 1 a 200-hour experience instead of a 15 to 30-hour experience. Plus, there's enough running and gunning that's happening, mindless entertainment, for you to kind of forget about the cutscenes, and then that makes each cutscene feel a lot special, a lot more special than if you're playing a Telltale game where it's just cutscene after cutscene or small section from all this. Interesting, we have quite a few emails here from side characters, which maybe that will give us some more insight. So Bar Bolox he wants you to pay your tab. Yondu, the person who kidnapped you and raised you like his son and used you. Hey boy, I'm hearing all sorts of craziness around the name Peter Quill lately. Like people saying you freaking killed Thanos. I don't believe it, Yondu. Hey, how's it going? Having a good day. I'm really happy you're cranking around checking your messages instead of just calling the Collector. Here we have Howard the Duck as a joke character that they teased they would bring into the Marvel Universe, but they really shouldn't. Hey, PQ, either something went wrong with Rocket's credit transfer or that Fleabag pal of yours still hasn't paid out the scratch he owes me from poker night. Every duck has his limits and he's pushing me over the line. You tell him I'm not playing with you guys again until he coughs up what he already owes. Howard. P.S. You guys drinking next week? Feathers crossed. I'll be able to get off-world for a few days. P.P.S. Say hey to Groot for me. Universal Church of Truth. Maybe there's something in that. Alert to following message has been flagged as spam. Holiest of greetings to you. Last night was the most faithful and rewarding year for the Universal Church of Truth as we continued to show the truth even when the filthiest and most undeserving non-believers across the universe. Not everyone wants to hear the truth. Some non-believers even react with violence and commit horrible acts such as killing our cardinals and destroying our temple ships. To continue our mission, we rely on the generosity of donors such as yourself across the galaxy for funding. Will you be one of those donors? This year, will you help us share the truth? Every donation of 10 units a lunar cycle can make all the difference. I believe the Universal Church of Truth. Maybe they are the new bad guys. Does seem like they might be running around attacking people or maybe brainwashing people. Knowhere headquarters. Removal of criminal record. As per your request, the Nova Corps will be expunging your criminal records along with the records of Gamora, Rocket, Groot, and Drax. All of your lawful citizen statuses shall be reinitiated in our galactic database, which, in addition to being viewed as an upstanding member of society, will allow you full voting rights in your sector. Thank you very much for your services rendered. Sincerely, Denarian Jarrus. So, Nova Corp treated us fairly. They didn't try and screw us over. Cosmos is another joke character, a Soviet dog sent into space, basically, from Earth. Original message, subject lost jacket from Cosmos to Peter Quill, Rocket, Pip, and Howard, who would be Pip. Comrades, one of you leave your jacket at bar after cards. If you're having jacket deficient, this may be your jacket. Of Benhivim Cosmos. I suppose that's probably Russian. Response 1, lost jacket. So you're on a reply chain here where they're hitting reply all. Cause might be mine, red. 19mm spanner in the pocket, question mark. That is Rocket. Response 2, yep, there's the smart move, asking the dog what color the jacket he found is. Pip. P.S. Cosmos, your caps lock is stuck again. Cosmo. Yeah. Not sure who Pip is. There. So yeah, you can play with this some more, but this is really just trying to get the player to waste as much time as possible instead of have actual content happening. Let's make that call. We're calling Nova Corps. I don't think it's going to matter who we pick, other than Gamora is going to side with me. Gamora is a better assassin and killer than Rocket anyway, so siding with her just out of fear is a good reason. But I suspect Nebula or somebody else is going to attack us before we can deliver the body.
Okay. Nova Corps.
Hopefully Nova Corps
Star-Lord?
actually pays
We thought
and
you
doesn't
were
just
dead.
try to take the body.
How the hell did you survive? Hardly any of our soldiers made it out. Our fleet was wiped out.
Again, we'll wait
chaos.
till the end.
Well, it was touch and go,
Although
but the
the end
Guardians had my
usually
back.
just gives them
Yeah, speaking
3
of
or
which,
4
I have
repetitive
something you might be
statements
interested
with the
in.
same idea.
I got Thanos lying right here. Really dead. Smelling up the place. Now, I understand there's some kind of bounty on him. Is that right?
You have his body? I can't believe it.
It'd be funny if he was
We'll
just in
dispatch some
status.
officers to your location. Nova Corps out.
And what's funny there is you have a unique Nova Corps character.
We could have gotten
Where
way more units with the
It seems like in the
Collector.
movies the
What were
Nova
you
Corps
thinking,
characters
Pete?
are
I rolled
supposed
out
to
the
be
red
pretty
carpet for you,
generic.
and you took a friggin' nosedive.
Oy.
I should have
faceless
just sold them
goons.
myself.
We need strong allies, not some body displayed in a museum, okay? It's wrong. And weird. That's 2 W words, and that proves my point.
Whatever. There, a third one for your stupid list. Weren't you on my side, Quill?
I'm Groot.
Groot says you did the right thing. Yada, yada, yada. I say we totally missed out on a big score.
Thank you, Groot. Shut up, Rocket.
Fine. You want to suck up to the space cops? Be my guest.
I feel
But
like
I ain't going with you.
Calm down, Rocket. Look, how about we throw in that relic? That'll give us a little extra.
I guess. Every little bit helps.
it seems like maybe Groot would have switched sides and then it would have been 2 against 2, but probably
Oh, come
not
on, where
because
did I
then
put that thing?
it still would just be two against 2. It's so crazy you have these loading sections when the game really should not have to load from one section to the other. It's a tiny little 3D area. Good news is I just got an achievement and I was able to turn that off. Turns out that there actually was an update to Steam and there's a option under the settings that says play a notification sound when you get a toast message. They call those toast messages because they pop up on the screen like a piece of toast. They slide from the bottom of the corner of the screen upwards like a piece of toast would, instead of just appearing from like the center of the screen, which would be what a general pop-up would be considered. But yeah, by default there was just a notification sound that they've enabled for seemingly everybody, stupidly. Although, there are some other settings where you could have no notifications pop up while you're in a game, and that might be the better move. So we're going to look in the bag, we're going to grab the artifact, and maybe then the artifact is going to activate? Like, it would be very weird if we went through this entire game and the artifact never activated.
Found you.
But yeah, it seems like maybe desire activates it, which would then make it questionable as to why it didn't get activated when Thanos picked it up.
Peter!
So now we're back
I'm
to
gonna
Earth
kill him.
1987.
You broke it, Mom.
That doesn't mean it was okay to hit that boy. Violence isn't the answer to every problem. Are you listening to me?
But it's okay for him to just break my stuff.
None of those
course
responses are
not.
particularly good.
I imagine he's learned his lesson, though.
You gave me this for my birthday.
His
So
hair
you
is
should be
way
pissed
too
off, too.
reflective, way too shiny.
And what he did was
That
wrong,
shows
but you,
how the
you
Telltale engine
don't just
never
go
could really
punching every
improve
person who makes you mad.
to have better hair
Especially not someone who's
textures.
3 grades above you.
Whereas had this been
I mean,
the Unreal Engine or the
A kid
Unity
practically
engine,
shaves.
I may have made some mistakes.
Oh, you think?
it would be incredibly
At
more
least you
difficult
acknowledge it.
to try and mod or update this game because it's been made
This
on the
can't keep
Telltale
happening,
engine.
Peter.
It would
I know I
probably
haven't been
be
home
easier
as much
to
lately,
just
but
take
that's all the more reason I need you to
story
step up and
and the
take
script
some responsibility.
and completely remake the
Then
game
you know
in a
tomorrow
different
you're
engine.
apologizing to that boy. And I mean a real apology. No smart aleck stuff.
So obviously you just want to be
sorry,
nice to
Mom.
the mother
You're
because you
right.
know she's dead
It's okay, baby.
in the future, but I
You're
guess everybody's
good
dead in the
kid.
future, so maybe that's a
so
good
much
argument to
smarter
be
than this.
nice to everybody
You wanna
always,
be.
if you can bear
I
it.
think we could both use a chance to clear our heads, don't you? What we need is a little perspective.
The problem here is you're a little spoiled still with spoilers. So you still know that Peter Quill's father is an alien, unless that's been completely changed.
Sometimes it takes stepping back from your problems to
So-
see how small they actually are.
It,
Beautiful.
the only real difference, I guess, there is that maybe in an alternate reality,
These last few months haven't been easy. For either of
the
us.
alien
But,
father of Peter Quill
I'm
wouldn't
not
have
always going to be here.
hired Yondu to kidnap him, which
I worry about
think
you.
is the story.
You're growing up so fast.
I know, Mom. I'll do better.
I know you will.
It's funny his shirt says
You're going to
53
be
instead
around
of
long after
like
I'm
52, but I guess Marvel
gone. I just
would be the new
don't
52.
want you to be alone.
Mom?
I'm fine, baby. It's nothing. It's just the
No,
dust.
DC is the new 52,
I
not
know
Marvel.
you've got a lot on your mind. But that kid you fought, maybe he does too.
And I guess I don't know
Promise
anything
me
about
in the
sports
future you'll use your
heroes
words instead
in
of your fists.
87 to
I will, Mom. I promise.
Thank you, baby.
yeah. There is another problem with movies and games, particularly this game, where a lot of the action seems to be way too focused on the soundtrack and licensed music, to the point where we really have gotten to some
You
movies
fixed
that
it! How?
that
What
are
can I say, huh? I'm pretty good.
really, really
Hey, great song.
bad or worse than they could have been,
Someone with
at least,
exceptional taste must have
because
introduced you to
they-
this one.
are so focused on licensed songs playing at specific points. And then the movies often will get even worse because the writer
Come
will
find
want
me, Peter.
a specific,
What?
they will want to,
We'll show you the way.
Hey!
they'll
Peter.
want one specific kind of music
Are
song
you okay?
in their movie, and then
You've
they
just
can't
been
get the license to
standing
it.
there, talking to this thing.
Let's see. Let's go with what did you hear?
What did you hear?
You called me Mom.
Huh.
It's been hours.
Hours?
The Nova Corps are here.
Okay. Yeah.
You look like you just saw a ghost. Something isn't right.
Why would I keep anything secret from her?
I think I did, actually. I mean,
What are you saying?
when I grabbed the relic, I was suddenly back on Earth. And
I don't like this 3D model
Mom
for
was
Peter
there.
Quill.
Peter? Your mother is dead.
It's
I know, I
too
know,
square
I
of a
know
jaw,
she is.
too
I
much
just-
of a hero figure.
Somehow it didn't
Not goofy enough for
feel that way.
the kind of character I expect him to really be.
We can't keep the Nova Corps waiting. But I do not trust this thing.
No way we're selling it. All right. Showtime. Let's go.
Yeah, it really feels like there's just going to be way too much emphasis here around
Thank you, Guardians, for bringing Thanos'
The
body straight to us.
artifact, and Thanos'
We know
body
the
is
Collector
just
was
going to
quite
go
interested
away.
in purchasing his remains, probably to put in that hellish zoo of his. But we will dispose of the body properly. There should be no trace left anywhere in the universe of Thanos, the Mad Titan.
You know, it couldn't hurt to have some pals in the Nova Corps. I like to bend the rules a little bit.
Should you ever need us, the Nova Corps has your back. Once we have verified Thanos' corpse, the bounty is yours.
So they're just going to destroy his body, which probably makes some sense. Instead of, I don't know, keeping it in a museum where people might follow it and worship it. So this is supposed to be a gag where it just takes forever. Again, technology taking forever. They've already done this one.
This is taking forever.
While we're here, I've just got to say, I'm a big fan of yours, Star-Lord. You took out the Mad Titan. No one else could have done this. I've been following your adventures for years. Your time with Yondu and the Ravagers, forming the Guardians of the Galaxy. You lead a legendary life.
Wow. Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
You know, we're fans of the Nova Corps, too. Don't mind him.
Confirmed. Thanos the Mad Titan.
Great. We'll take that bounty now, Space Cop.
Oh, of course. Okay, once the body has been received by processing, the bounty will be released to accounting. You should start receiving your payment in installments in 6 to 12 months.
Bureaucracy.
Ugh, I know. Standard protocol. But there's a lot of red tape and paperwork to go through.
Do we need the money
God, I
right
wish
now?
we could pay you sooner. Sorry about that.
Oh, come on, man. Help me out here. I mean, can't my biggest fan speed things up a little?
Well, I might be able to pull some strings. But, in return, I have a small favor to ask. Just like tiny favor.
I would think Thanos really wouldn't have
Can I,
that big of a bounty on it.
touch
Or
your
a
gun?
bounty on him at all because he's just so
I've always wanted to.
so
It's
dangerous.
legendary.
Yeah, this is a trap,
Oh,
but whatever.
yeah, buddy. Knock yourself out.
I shall never forget this
But I
day.
guess also the Guardians could probably take out
And
this guy.
We're all done here. It's been an honor working with you, Star-Lord.
So we've allied with the Nova Corps, which means they're going to show up at some big battle at some point and then help a little, but
Peter Quill,
Oh, what now?
it
you
won't
have
really
something I
matter.
desire.
There we go. There's Nova. Oh,
The Eternity Forge.
wait, that's somebody else.
All right. The body will be taken to the facility.
And since Jinzar could not retrieve it earlier, I must take it myself.
I will not fail you again, Hala.
Now what's weird is apparently I missed a whole section of this, and I don't know how I did that. Like in between the episodes, I just hit start and paused, and I woke up in
the
the
relic.
Can you actually shoot?
bar, and then when
Speak,
I
kid. Is that a
unpaused
yes?
it,
Just follow me.
and then I was in the ship. Well, so I can't really fix if that's what happened, and I would just have to check that up to a glitch. All I'm doing is just randomly pulling the left and right trigger. Maybe I'm supposed to be choosing whether I shoot to the left or to the right. So this isn't Nebula. Didn't it look too much like her though? The enemies here shouldn't be blue-skinned.
Hey, let go!
So now we're just back to compensating for a lack of action by having too many QuickTime events in a row. A lot of the other Telltale games, you'd have a couple of QuickTime events, and then you'd have some conversation, and then after 10-20 minutes of conversation, you might have some more QuickTime events. With him hallucinating potentially here, maybe that is why we missed that whole section where he was drunk in the bar. Or
That's mine.
he could just be dreaming this whole thing, since
No.
Thanos
hey,
first activated it.
We have what we came for.
Here's an opportunity where you'd have a cool cutscene or a cool flying through space section.
I'm coming with you.
There's only one pack. Allow me to fight beside you, Star-Lord. I killed Thanos. I can kill some measly blue
The
warriors.
size of that warship. You can't fight your way through that. Take me, and they'll never even know we were there.
So we have to
Let
pick.
us paint her ship red with blood.
And again, we would just always side with the girlfriend.
The fewer people who detect us, the better. You've seen the types of weapons they possess.
I welcome the confrontation. My blades thirst for blood once again.
Gamora, you're with me.
As you wish.
What they
Kill
really
all
should
three
have
for
done.
me, Star-Lord. If you do not, I shall never
Oh, so
forgive
those are
you.
Kree. They didn't even really make that obvious. They should have said Kree. It's a Kree. It would have been wise to have a fight happen. Wow, that is not doing a good frame rate there.
Peter!
Stuttering.
Peter, Gamora.
The Telltale engine
Busy
never really
rocket.
ran
You
particularly
need to
well.
know this. That ship you're heading towards, it's Kree, commanded by someone named Hala the Accuser.
Kree? But their planet was destroyed. I thought they were extinct.
You ain't wrong. That ship, those people, shouldn't exist. Well, I'm looking right at it.
But yeah, if at the very beginning
There's the
Gamora
airlock.
had to have a fight with Peter Quill, and they were mad at each other. That would help, although in all fairness it would probably be better if it wasn't just a fight, but a full-on breakup that has been established for a long time. If they said they used to date many years ago, but they're now just good friends, that would make more sense.
Let's get moving.
Again, you get just a very rough jump there, because they don't want to animate
You've been acting
making
strange
it
ever
through
since I
the
found you
space
with
dock.
that relic. Now you go flying off after a Kree warship? Is this about that dream you had? I don't understand. What aren't you telling me?
Look, to be honest with you, I'm not so sure it was a dream. I was back home, and it felt so real.
Again, they're cheating here with the mask. They
My mom
don't
told
want
me
to
to come
animate
find her.
the lip flap.
That's not possible, Peter.
Even though they are doing
She's
it with
buried
the other
on Earth.
characters.
We don't know what this thing is. It could be affecting you.
Honestly, I'm just as confused as you are.
Confusion or not, that relic is dangerous. Who knows what else it's capable of?
Look, we just need to get the relic back.
All right, Peter. Whatever you say.
Right. So now we could exhaust all the dialogue here.
How are the engines looking?
Not great, Pete. The old girl's seen better days. Hey, Groot, don't stick your roots in that.
Guess you can walk as people are talking.
Hey, Drax.
Peter, is the slaughter glorious over there? Spare no gruesome detail.
Haven't run into anyone yet.
Oh, good. I'm less envious now.
Okay, so two simplistic, pointless lines of dialogue. Obviously, there would have been a third line of dialogue if you'd chosen Drax to come with you versus Gamora. But I don't see a reason why you'd ever would have picked Drax. He doesn't even come off like he is way more strong than any of the other characters, to the point where his brute strength would be better than the emotional and intellectual support you would get from even Rocket, let alone Gamora. And if anything, I would think Groot might be as strong, if not stronger, than Drax.
Huh? What the hell? Those are pictures of...
So they were spying on him. And is this some kind of holographic system? Or is this some kind of graves?
Whoa.
This is more tomb than warship.
So they're gonna use this.
And we're sure they're actually really dead, right?
The Kree are a technologically advanced species, but science cannot defeat death.
So I'm betting the artifact can defeat death, that they can go back in time and bring these people back to life. I bet that's the idea. Now, why does using this computer screen that was showing us all that imagery lead to the caskets moving around? I don't know. That doesn't seem very connected.
Those glyphs are Kree, but I can't make out what it says.
I can. Much better.
So I guess we now know what the red eyes do. So there we go.
Hala's gotta be there. Which means that's where the relic is.
Hala would be expecting a direct attack. We need to find a way in there without being seen.
Okay. So it looks like if we reset the energy grid, we could go to the left and make it to the bridge. or we could just go straight through the door and go through a lot more rooms. It's obviously a cryostasis.
6% crew efficiency.
That is a lot of dead folks.
100% of stasis pods online.
So, if we reset the energy grid, maybe we would kill a bunch of Kree. Maybe we should talk to Gamora about that before we do it. And it looks to me like there would be some kind of extra thing. Now, I can't hit up on the D-pad and go to another level though. So, in a real video game, and I hate to have to use that terminology, you would think maybe you would float up or jump up on these platforms as they form bridges, or you'd have to find some way to walk around through different air vents and the bridges would let you go through. Of course, none of that is going to happen. I'm not sure I really even have an option here.
Gamora?
You mean other than infiltrating a warship full of dead Kree to steal a relic from a murderous warlord? I'm just glad you're the one here with me.
Let's go with I feel the same way, I guess.
You know, I feel the same way. I'm glad you're here.
Of course you are missing out on Drax ranting about vengeance for an hour. And I know how much you love that.
Now, I guess I could try the right click to see if the time badge would do anything. Nope,
That's
not
weird.
Right
What
click.
is it?
My scanner isn't picking up anything. It's like nobody has been through here in a long time.
Left click. Yeah, it's bringing it up. So I guess this is yet another way to have a player waste a lot of time. The interface here is terrible. To have a mouse cursor effectively with the right stick and then move with the left stick. Okay, we don't have any choice. Let's reset the energy
Power
grid.
diverted to access way. 36 stasis pods now offline. Equilibrium terminated.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I knew that was going to happen, but
They can't get any deader, I guess.
so now that means we can either go this way or we can go this way. We could also check the map. I think going this way is the quieter way. Again, this is a great example, though, of
Gamora.
how it feels like a split in the
game if
path
you
is
are.
going to really matter, but
Perfect.
it really isn't. Like, at the end of the day, we'll enter one passageway and end up on the bridge regardless.
Lead the way.
Of course, this kind of branching with 3D
Moving and stay.
CGI characters. Notice how the back of his coat is clipping through his helmet. It just makes a lot of extra work.
Someone has deactivated the stasis pods. Arm your weapons. We must find them.
It would make a lot of sense to not walk while they're walking by.
Did you hear that? Move! At the end of the corridor. Be swift!
So basically that's nothing. Yeah. Compared to, say, doing that, a very similar experience like that in like Arkham Asylum, where you would have been Batman in a vent and then you would have come out of the vent and potentially snuck up behind some enemies.
Peter.
Yeah, so now we're on the bridge. That whole section really didn't matter much more.
Sweet one. You shall be back by my side soon. Once we return home, the process can begin. Few survive an encounter with me and return for more. Peter Quill.
It's pronounced Star-Lord.
One more step and she dies. It will be easy to remove her head. Do not test me.
Wait. Don't hurt her.
Very well. I cannot lose my son again.
I know there is a character called the Accuser,
You will
but
not take him from me.
I don't feel like it was
I have
a
been
female
searching
character.
for so long. No one will stand in my way.
Is that who you were talking to? Your son?
I thought he was lost. I thought they all were. Thanos eradicated my people. Destroyed my planet. Now that you have killed him, the Eternity Forge will be our salvation.
Inherently,
you have no idea.
If you could use a device to bring back all the people Thanos killed, there would be
our rightful place in the stars shall be restored.
It would just be way too
I know
many
what it's
people in
capable
the
of.
universe.
It let me relive a memory with my mom.
It can do so much more than that. You really do not know how this works, do you? You said you lost your mother. Would you kill someone to bring her back?
No. I don't think his mother would want that. Plus, even if you did bring her back, she would just be old and die again.
No. I'd never do that.
I thought as you once did. Until everything was taken from me. Billions of Kree have died. Bringing them all back will require many sacrifices. I will not rest until we have conquered every star system in the galaxy.
So yeah, for a second there, it feels like they were going to she was just gonna bring people back to life and not do something that evil. But obviously, she plans on killing a lot of people. It's funny, you get a save right in the middle of a cutscene. And here he's passing out again, and I wouldn't be surprised if he wakes up back in the bar. I wouldn't be surprised if every episode of this game is playing through scenarios like this, trying to prevent people from dying. That would work pretty well, although it would be fairly repetitive by the 4th or 5th episode. Would there be any way he could get away from being killed here? I guess that can happen.
Guess I gotta save your ass once again, Quill.
Definitely looked like the laser sword went all the way through his chest. So, it seems now like it barely grazed him. So, grab that with the right stick and the right trigger. But I think you probably killed
I'm
Gamora. Nope, she's fine.
Oh no.
Let's go with I'm glad you're here. Let's just be nice. Why not be nice always?
Gamora, I'm glad I brought you along.
That's the problem with the Walking Dead games too, is that there's some pretty obvious evil bad responses, and I just couldn't imagine too many people would have make those responses. Usually in The Walking Dead, the choices were pretty neutral and even, but there definitely were some statistics that showed that like 98% of players always picked one choice over the others.
Oh no.
The writing in this specific game
know,
is
buddy.
not,
I hope so.
I think, good enough that
Hey guys.
you'd really care to see the alternate choices.
Green Witch. You allowed him to die.
As if you could have done any better. Either of you.
Yeah, go on. Blame the guy who rescued him.
Peter, no.
Even at this, it's crazy if he actually was stabbed all the way through the chest that he wouldn't have died instantly. I guess you have to assume that the laser sword cauterized the wound on the way out. Now we're back to flashbacks, and I just got another achievement. But we should be pretty close to the end of the first episode.
I'll give you some time to say goodbye.
Faceless guy. They didn't want to animate another character. Once we get to the credits, we almost certainly are going to
You know, your moma'd smack you upside the head. She saw you
probably
moping
hear
over her like this.
some licensed music if we didn't have
Quills ain't no
streamer
little
mode.
babies.
My mom just...
My mama ate 3 of my brothers. I'd have been happy to see her go. You better pull it together, boy, because I'm the closest thing you got to family right now. Now let's get. I don't want to be on this planet any longer than I have to.
Let's go with this one.
What the hell are you?
What? What? Well, ain't you got a scrote on you? The name's Yondu Udanta. Your ma wrote me into taking care of you if something ever happened.
I don't believe that's
Something
true.
happened.
I believe his father paid
Now,
him to
You
find
can come
him.
with me easy, or am I gonna have a fight on my hands? Won't do you much good. You're a bony little scrap of nothing. I can take you without needing to lift a finger.
And why should I trust you?
'Cause my word is my bond, boy. What I say, I do. There's nothing in between.
I imagine Yondu isn't going to play a huge role in this story, but they don't want to change the events of the past.
So what's it gonna be?
I mean, you could say get away from me and change the timeline. Let's see what that does. Probably nothing.
I'm not going anywhere with you.
Come here. Hey!
Yeah.
You keep this up, and I'm gonna have to eat you.
That is a great example there of what happens if you choose the choice the writers don't want you to choose. It doesn't matter at all.
What?
So now they're trying to kind of have a horror aspect in a game that really isn't a horror. Which, if anything, I think The Walking Dead probably highlights that these Telltale style games work best around horror, or at least very dramatic scenarios. Which is just trying to be too much action.
Don't worry, my little Star-Lord. I'm here to help you. It'll be all right.
Should you ask are you dead, or should we say help me how? Let's get the direct
Help me?
question.
How?
I'll show you. Soon enough.
Mom?
Come find me, Peter.
Arguably, this is too
Be
much
waiting
magic
for you.
for a Guardians of Galaxy story. If anything, it feels kind of like a Life is Strange type story. And we can hear the streamer safe music playing right now, which means obviously it wouldn't be licensed music playing right now instead. Tangled up in the blue means nothing. And because the Telltale servers are down, we cannot see the latest choices of players. We can see, while there is a decent number of people in the credits, that they haven't seemingly done any kind of background art for this scenario where the servers would have been done. And inherently, I guess this shows the problem with games that have online mechanics that absolutely don't need to have online mechanics in them. Obviously, they could just be showing me my choices here and leave it at that, or they could have even update the choices based on a survey up later on. But yeah, having the game remember all your decisions, then upload it to their server so they can then take an average and tell you back. So here we can see all the songs we're not hearing. Living Thing, Why Can't I Touch It, You Make My Dreams. 3 songs, none of which I recognize. Although, if I heard them, I very possibly would recognize them. I just don't recognize them by their name. Not that big of a fan of music in general, and 1980s music would, well, actually, that'd probably be the music I recognize the most. Yeah. A lot of people certainly were working very hard to make Telltale games, in my opinion. It certainly seemed like it. They were just working with the wrong tool in the Telltale engine. And funnily enough, this gets labeled as a point-and-click game, and I guess technically you might call it that, but there's so many games where you technically point a mouse somewhere and click, and in my case I'm using a controller, so I'm not even pointing a mouse. But this is a far cry away from what a point-and-click adventure is in my mind, because most point-and-click adventures have puzzles. We've seen no real puzzles, just decisions with no wrong answers. They have multiple people you can talk to for often very little reasons, multiple areas you can walk to. Most point-and-click adventures are 2D, and they have that adventure aspect in which you are going to a lot of different locations. There is different places that we're at, but each place really is just one small scene, where most point-and-clicks would have multiple scenes, and you would click on a door and then you'd be in another scene, and then you'd click on a sewer grate and you would be in the sewers, then you'd click on a cave and you'd be underground, things like that. And then you might need to work your way back to the first scene to find some object or interact with another object. There is way more game in practically any point-and-click adventure compared to a Telltale game. Telltale games strived, I guess, to try and be somewhat like a point-and-click, but not by much did they succeed on that. Originally, Telltale was making poker games, but yeah, those really didn't sell that well either. Alright, so that's the entire credits. We can try and refresh. And that does nothing, so let's then just see next time on. Which next time ons will remember some of the choices that you made in the first episode and then integrate those choices into the next time on to make it seem like any of your decisions here mattered at all. More than likely, the only decision that would have mattered is that you chose to take Gamora with you instead of Drax. And even at that, that's probably not a big decision that matters. The choosing to not trust Yondu may get mentioned, but I doubt it's a big choice. Best case scenario, the second to last episode might have a big choice that matters, whereas your choice in every episode before that won't matter, really. And at the end of the game, none of your choices will really matter.
This thing recording? Okay, so yeah. I thought once Thanos was kaput, we'd have to change our name. Heroes of the Galaxy. Partiers of the Galaxy. Yeah, but the thing about this place, it never stays guarded for long. As soon as Hala found out we had the Eternity Forge, we shot up to numero uno on her murder list. Yes, dying hurt. A lot. What kind of question is that?
I am
Dad, you know what, buddy? Why don't I field these questions? Since we're putting this on record, it was a brilliant idea to pawn off Thanos. But I ain't thrilled those idiots at the Nova Corps ended up with him. You see units pouring out of my ears? 'Cause I don't!
Oh, Quill's been a pain in my ass since day one. Since minute one when he came aboard my ship. Soon as he showed up at my hideout, I could tell he got himself in some kind of trouble. The Kree ain't folks you want to mess with.
I thought my reunion with Nebula would go over better. That she'd understand I was trying to mend
This
things
feels like a
between us.
TV show doing
I was
interviews.
wrong. Once she found out what the Eternity Forge could do, everything it could do, there was no stopping her.
I'm
So,
gonna use an Earth analogy here, so
Thanos
just bear with me.
being left alive.
The Guardians, we're like the Beatles.
So
I'm John, Gamora is Paul, Rocket is Ringo,
they're going to
Drax
try and
is
use
George,
the
and Groot, well,
Eternity Forge to bring them
Groot
back.
is just Groot.
Which
it's not
I
a
guess
perfect
proves the
analogy,
idea of
all right?
destroying the body makes
We
sense.
yell, sure. We fight. But damn do we make beautiful music. I just hope I can keep the band together. Or this galaxy doesn't stand a chance.
They definitely are hinting at the idea that the group is going to break up, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's never actually really a risk of that. Okay. So we've got episode 2, Under Pressure, which Under Pressure is the name of the song, so I wonder if Tangled Up in the Blue is also the name of the song. We can pull the left trigger for more options to potentially reset episode 1 if you wanted to start all over again. I don't believe you can select specific chapters. Some of the Telltale games did allow you to select specific chapters. So now that we know that this is the Eternity Forge and not one of the Infinity Stones, at least it doesn't seem like it's the Infinity Stone, although it could be that the Time Stone is in it. We're seeing a little bit more information. It looks like each one of them is potentially trying to race for it. Somebody clearly has like a tongue out of mouth fetish in animating this, though, because every character's mouth is opening up wider, and there's Peter's thumb is in Gamora's mouth as she's biting him. But yeah, the little weird choice that each character is doing that. So maybe we'll get to the point where each character is actively trying to use the Infinity Forge first. says to review your choices, complete an episode on your selected save file. Well, clearly I've completed an episode. So I suspect that just isn't going to work either because of the servers being offline. Yeah. We'll see if choices unlock perhaps at some other point. So it's kind of the point where I'd like to say so far so good with the first episode, but I don't even think I can really say that. It's a pretty mid-level story so far. It was slow to get to the point and have us focus on the point. It crammed all the action into 2 sequences with way too many cutscenes, and when we were outside of the actions with the QuickTime events, and yeah, that's what I meant to say, is QuickTime events, you're just left in really 3 locations if you include walking around the bar. Yeah, I kind of don't like the way any of these characters are visually depicted. I think they're too far off of character as far as what you would expect to see from the movies, whereas that's most of where your fandom would have come to this game. Like, you're not going to have a ton of hardcore comic book fans of the Guardians of the Galaxy playing this game. Well, you may have all the fans of Guardians of the Galaxy playing the game, and they still wouldn't be the main percentage of people playing the game. But yeah, I don't like the characterization of Peter Quill. He's not goofy enough, because clearly they want this to be more of an action experience, and if it was supposed to be an action experience, then you can't have a Telltale game because they're just too slow. The only reason The Walking Dead works as a game, and if anything, the first season of The Walking Dead works way better than any of the other Telltale games, but the only reason it works is because the zombies are slow, and the decisions and actions needed to kill a zombie are fairly not very physically strenuous. You just need to stab a screwdriver in the head of a single zombie to kill it, and you can do that fairly slowly. You don't have to run and punch or shoot people, which is what we often saw in the QuickTime events. It's just way too much physical movement. And that's something Telltale had already known, or should have learned, but they were too desperate to get money to just keep the company afloat until they finally couldn't keep the company afloat. But they did one of their very early Telltale style games, or a prototypical Telltale style game, was Jurassic Park. And in that case, it is way more action and way more cutscenes and way more opportunities to actually die. Noticeably here, we did have Peter Quill die, and it didn't even matter. So they should have even then known that high action doesn't work. And it's once again very important to point out, if you first played this game when it was brand new, if you pre-ordered Guardians of the Galaxy, you would have played that first episode for about 2 hours, and then you would have had to wait a while. Maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, until episode 2 was out. So you have that weird mix of pre-ordering things and paying for things that you don't know whether you really want to play or not, and then having to wait for it to come out because they weren't delivering the episodes all at once. That's why it is episodic. And the good news is, in 2023 we've pretty much seen the complete elimination of the idea of episodic content for the most part. There are still some online services that have seasons. Certainly Season 2 of Diablo 4 is an example of that, certainly. But for single player content, the idea of episodes has fallen by the wayside. Although effectively, that has done nothing to the idea of DLC. It's just episodes are promised DLC on some kind of set schedule, where other kinds of DLC are nebulously promised to be delivered whenever they feel like it, and with no guarantees of any more DLC being added. Even if you waited years later to buy this game, there still was a potential there that you would have bought just episode 1 of the game and then had to buy episode 2, 3, 4, and 5 as DLC, which that sucks too, that they can effectively trick you into buying a game because it looks cheaper, and then actually make you pay a lot more to get a complete story and complete experience. Although, in all fairness, this Telltale game, like most of them, are now no longer available for purchase, so it is probably gone forever. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. This episode's already gone long. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's some links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.